Center of Spiritual Living, Delaware. You little snow angels. Rumi once said, "Your task is not to seek love, but merely seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." I'm going to read that one again. Your task is not to seek love, but merely seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Yeah. Let us speak the affirmation of love with our enthusiasm. Today and every day, I am transformed by the renewal of my mind. I renew my mind with the thought, I am the love of God. The love of God flows through me at all times. When people see or hear me, they experience love. My life is guided by the indwelling spirit of love. And so it is.
Cute dress. Thank you. Gee, I usually get comment on my shoes, not my dress. Good morning. It's so nice to be here. I love the energy here. It just feels delicious to be here. So thank you for having me. Within you is a cosmic power, and your cosmic power is the power of love, and it is your true nature. It is your very essence. It is your DNA, your divine nature always. And so the reason that we are alive is to express this cosmic power. So what exactly is love? Love, like God, cannot be fully defined because to define it would be to limit it. Dr. Ernest Holmes, author of the book The Science of Mind, defined love, quote, a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. The Bible tells us that God is love, and that he that abideth in love abideth in God, and God abideth in him. And it also says that we're made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, our inherent nature is love. So then, love is a spiritual gift, it's a cosmic force, and a divine activity. Although it may be difficult to define, and although sometimes misunderstood, love remains the greatest power in the universe because love is the power that transforms, it redeems, and it fulfills. The power is inexhaustible, and its possibilities are unlimited. Emmett Fox, you familiar with Emmett Fox? He said, there's no difficulty that enough love will not conquer, no disease that enough love will not heal, no door that enough love will not open, and no gulf that enough love will not bridge, no wall that enough love will not throw down, no sin that enough love will not redeem. It makes no difference how deeply seated the outlook, no deeply seated the trouble, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake, a sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. So then, love is the divine remedy that never fails. It's the most powerful weapon in the world. It will take anything in your life and make it beautiful. For when you're expressing love, you're working with love, then you're working with the energy and power of God. You may have heard the research done on drug addicted babies and babies in orphanages. The babies tend to be smaller in size than normal. They have weaker vital signs and they're more lethargic. Their mortality rate is very high, and many of them simply don't survive. And so these underweight babies, they're given everything required for their health. They receive medication, I was going to say meditation, medication, food and drink, but still this is not enough to keep many of them healthy. However, they found that if volunteers regularly spend time with these babies, holding them and rocking them in their arms and speaking lovingly and gently to these babies, that suddenly the baby's health would improve dramatically. Their weight increased, their vital signs improved, and their mortality rate drastically decreased. Now, logic would tell us that these little babies improved so significantly because they were given massive amounts of love by the volunteers who held them. that it was the love given to these babies that released in them the natural hormones and enzymes that were required for them to grow healthy. And furthermore, even scientific evidence seemed to prove that this was true. As students of truth, we know that God created us perfect, whole, and complete, and that we're spiritual beings, that nothing needs to be added to us to give us any more potential or to make us any more whole. It's just like an egg that develops in a shell. Nothing can be added to us to make us any more complete. So, since we're intrinsically whole and complete, nothing needs to be added to us, only released from us. So, if we were to look at this story from a spiritual perspective, there's an entirely different conclusion. The babies became healthier and they thrived, not because they were loved, but because the babies were given the opportunity to love. They were placed in an environment where the intrinsic love within them was called forth. So it was the love within the babies that was relief from the babies that caused them to become healthier. The babies didn't need to receive love from others. In fact, they really couldn't receive any love from others because all the love we could ever need is within us. All that other people can do is create the opportunity, create the environment, create the situation for the love that is already within us to be released. So others then can be the catalyst for the love, the release of the love that is within us, but we can never get love because love is our natural state. This is who we are. We are made in the image and likeness of the supreme essence of this love. We are love incarnate, and it is the very essence of our being. Have you heard of the book Embraced by the Light by Betty Eady? And she wrote, "Our purpose on earth is to love. Nothing brings us back into the awareness of our divinity like the experience of loving. God is love. Each experience of loving brings us closer to our true nature, which is love." There's a pretty famous story in the New Thought community of Dr. Ernest Holmes, author of Science of Mind. He founded, of course, the philosophy of religious science. And not long before he made his transition in 1960, he was asked if you had to do it all over again, writing the science of textbook, the faith, the philosophy, would you change anything? And he replied, yes, I would have. I would have focused less on law and more on love. Ernest Holmes focused a lot on what we call the law. The law is simply how God creates and how we, as God expressions here on earth, create. And to paraphrase Dr. Ernest Holmes, God's thought creates worlds and peoples it with living things. Our thoughts or our consciousness, which is the combination of our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, actions, words, it creates our world and our life experiences. So our thoughts are creative according to the strength and desire contained within the thought. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So then it's the law, is the action of God. Traditional religion would call this the Holy Spirit, and it's the way creation occurs. And I have some questions for you to ponder. If you have a pen and you want to take some notes, I think these are pretty significant questions. Are we activating the law through love? Are we letting the law be the guiding force in our lives? Are we letting love be the guiding force in our lives? Are we allowing, that's the key word, are we allowing the power of love to heal us? Are we allowing the power of love to prosper us? Catherine Ponder wrote a whole book called The Prospering Power of Love. And have you asked yourself lately, how can I express more of the love that I already have and I already am? And it's only as we do this that we'll be truly fulfilled and experience a deep and abiding connection with the God of our being, as we are willing to be love and express more love. In the book of Matthew in the New Testament, Jesus was being grilled by one of the scholars and asked what the greatest commandment was. And he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And the key in that passage is love your neighbor as thyself. But that's one of the biggest challenges of being a human being is loving ourselves. And a lot of us, it has to do with not loving ourselves. And those who do not love themselves are plagued by a sense of emptiness, which they're always trying to fill one way or another. It's like a person with a painful toothache. They can only think of themselves and they're constantly in search of a dentist, something to make them feel better. And so those who don't love themselves sufficiently are very self-critical. They're critical of others. They feel empty, and they can often turn to addictive behaviors, alcohol, drugs, excessive use of social media, being a shopaholic, and on and on. So not loving ourselves shows up as comparing yourselves to others and falling short, or feeling like you never get a break in life, or you don't feel valuable or valued, or doing something and thinking it's never really good enough the way it is, or thinking that you'll never really be happy, or feeling like you just don't fit in, or negative self-talk. How about, how could I be so stupid? Or we say, how could I'm just not good enough. What's wrong with me? Things never seem to turn out for me. And on and on. And what happens is when we ask these negative why questions, all the negative stuff in the subconscious mind from universal negative comes in to answer it in a negative way. We have to learn to ask more positive questions like, how can I do this? Or what do I need to know here? And the universe will always give us the ideas. Now, when I'm talking about loving yourself, I don't mean, of course, in an egotistical way. I'm talking about loving yourself because you know your true spiritual identity. You understand your oneness with God, that God expresses through you and as you. So the question becomes, how do we learn to love ourselves? We change at the level of our thought. As we keep our thinking aligned long enough with a new thought, a new feeling will emerge. And the new thought combined with a new feeling will birth a new belief. And the new thought combined with a new feeling, combined with a new belief, will create a new manifestation, a new life experience, because now you've completely up-leveled your vibration or wavelength that you were on before, and you've changed your consciousness. And then when you change your consciousness, you attract new and different experiences. My favorite affirmation to create self-love is, and there's a handout there, I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. On the handout today, which I thank Virgie for creating, gosh, she made it look so pretty, I wrote an affirmation for love, and I would love for us to say it together, but let's start with this love jingle. It's near the bottom of the page. You see it? It says, I'm lovable, loving, and loved. Say that with me. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. Now, if you know me, you know I create jingles. I write jingles for anything. I have a CD of spiritual jingles. I'm thinking of coming out for another one. I'm known as the jingle lady, the jingle minister, and that's great. I love it. That makes me happy. So I want to sing this to you, and I want to teach it to you, because I truly believe that if you go about singing this for 3 days to 7 days, you will see a dramatic difference in your life. So, you ready? It goes like this. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. Sing it with me. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. Let's do it again. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. Again, I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. Isn't that cool? What's cool about it is that music, the rhythm of life, how fantastic is that energy. And it plays over and over in your mind. Isn't it wonderful to have a thought like that to play over and over in your mind instead of a thought of negativity? How about if we say this affirmation together? On the top, it says centered in love. And so in the blank spot, you're going to put your own name, okay? So let's begin. Today, I, Janine, contemplate love. God is love, and love is spirit in action. Love is the power within me that guides and protects me. It is a love that will never leave me nor forsake me. A love that is infinite and everywhere present. Love desires my highest good and perfects everything that concerns me. Love comforts me, love forgives me, love inspires me, love restores my soul. Love is the answer to my every need. As I contemplate love, it flows forth into my life and affairs, and every moment is blessed. I choose to reflect love, and I choose to express love, for I, Janine, am centered in love. And so it is, amen. I hope you'll take that home and work with that often, at least once a day. If you try that for a month, I think you'll have some very good uplift in your energy and in your thinking. Okay, back to loving your neighbor as yourself. So let's say you take the time to shift your vibrational energy, you've done your daily spiritual work, your consciousness is lifted up. Then one day you're out in the world and suddenly you find yourself in a situation where love is evidently absent. Maybe some kind of hostile situation at work, or maybe in a relationship there's anger, or maybe there's injustice. That's a big one for people, the value of fairness. Something's not fair. So typically, the automatic reaction would likely be to withhold or love or to argue or defend or to get angry and retaliate. When these circumstances exist, more than ever, there's a greater and more urgent need for love. The circumstances have intrinsically arisen out of a lack of love, and it's never can be healed until enough love energy is released. And so in order to release love energy, we have to stop judging and condemning and criticizing and blaming, which is very difficult to do because the ego mind thrives on that negativity. And so we have to practice loving unconditionally and without conditions and expectations. We have to give up our demand that the circumstance be different than it was. And when we love unconditionally, we're going to accept the situation as it is. We're not going to change anybody or everything. We're not going to try to do so. This is simple, but not necessarily easy. However, we must remember that we are God in expression and that God is love. And so as we speak from this awareness, we will have the ideas, because that's our direct inheritance from God, divine ideas. Love and wisdom are the main aspects of God. And so you will always have the ideas that you need. So you can just say right there, God, what do I need to say? What do I need to know here? And as you speak from this awareness, the energy of divine light and love will be able to address the challenges and problems with the same command that Jesus had. Peace, be still. And so then we will then be able to release the criticisms and the judgments and the blame and the condemnation. We'll be able to open our mind to receive those divine ideas and learn how to manage the circumstance. We'll know the right words to say and the right actions to take. It starts with stop judging ourselves. When we stop judging ourselves, then it's going to be so much easier to stop judging others. But we're so harsh on ourselves. Stop it. Just stop it. When you find yourselves losing your PMA, your positive mental attitude, practice thought substitution. Stop playing over and over in your mind those negative thought stories that keep you in bondage. Simply substitute another thought instead. When I first began practicing science of mind, I would actually have a list of things to think about instead. I had a list so that when the negatives would come up, I'd whip out my list, because when you're in the negative, it's hard to think outside that box, and I would have things to think about instead. And so you need to be willing to give up your anger and to stop blaming and practice forgiveness. And I hope if you're able to come this afternoon, I expect to teach you more about that. In the meantime, sing the jingle. Let's sing it one more time. Ready? I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. Again, I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I'm lovable, loving, and loved. I am a channel for the expression of infinite divine love. It's a wonderful technique for thought substitution is singing a jingle. Matter of fact, I brought some CDs if you're interested. But what I want you to do now is to begin to make a commitment to let love be the driving force behind all that you do and say. In the Science of Mind magazine, it was September 2011, James Redfield said that consciousness is contagious, like a virus, but in a good way. Your consciousness is contagious. So that means that love is a verb. Love is a behavior. It's the way we show up, the things that we do, how we speak, and how we treat one another. And so when we're filled with God's love and vitalizing power, when we're alive, alert, and ready, and always to do our best in whatever situation we find ourselves in, then we will bring the love. We will bring forth peace. We will bring forth joy. And so it's the thoughts that we think and the actions that we take that will affect the collective well-being of all humanity and will raise the vibration of humankind. Every choice that we make will uplift and bless humanity. Choose to be a blessing to the world. Choose to be the one to express love. Choose to be the one to be love in action. You be the one to show kindness. You be the one to be caring. You be the one to demonstrate compassion and to show concern. Be the one to be understanding. Be thoughtful. You be the one to demonstrate consideration. You be the one to be tolerant and accept another just as they are without judgment. You be the one to help awaken others in another capacity so that they can feel a mighty love. And so every time you choose love, every time you choose to be the best, every time you choose to help someone else, or you choose to live with integrity, or you choose to be positive, every time you give without expecting anything in return, you are giving love, and in doing so, you are lighting up the world. Be the light of the world. Neil Donald Walsh said, quote, "Your light is seen. Your heart is known. Your soul is cherished by more people than you might imagine. If you knew how many others have been touched in wonderful ways by you, you'd be astonished. If you knew how many people feel so much for you, you'd be shocked. You are far more wonderful than you think you are. Rest with that. Rest easy with that. You are doing fine. More than fine. Better than fine. You are doing great. So relax and love yourself today." Isn't that beautiful? So let us be love in action. As we practice being love in action, you will see, as the 19th century French monk and mystic Pierre Teilhard de Chardin said, "The day will come, after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love, and on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, we shall have discovered fire." And so I call upon you today to have a sufficient realization of love. Choose love. Look out into the world with the eyes of love, and everywhere you will see the beautiful and true. Act in the spirit of love, and you will see that love is all around you. See love, reveal love, allow your divine nature, which is love, to be revealed in all ways, always. And so begins the lesson.